Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sacred Remembering. I'm here today with Tara Anna. Tara, welcome.
Hi, thank you
It's,
for having me.
oh my gosh, thank you for being here. So, just a quick intro story version of why I invited you here. And then I think there's a whole bunch of other things planned that you and I only have glimpses of for today's episode. So, I was called to ask you for a session. And I went back and looked, I actually re-listened to some of it today, just to tune into what we were doing. And it was back in April.
Mm.
It was April of 2025. And what I knew, what I could tell about Tara is that she is a skilled quantum field worker. Like the integrity of your quantum field work was something that I recognized, and very few, in my opinion, like very few out there have, like very few understand the quantum field work and the integrity of the quantum field work, and how to really anchor that in the frequency of God and creation. And so that is what happened, and I got to experience Tara's work, and many, many gorgeous things happened. Profound things happened. She also pulled a mechanic, like a implant out of my womb. It's stuff like that, like this quantum field work that we can really see through the multidimensional space, and it's like quite different than your standard energy healing session. So Tara's the real deal, and she's here. Oracle, priestess, rose sister, all of those things, all of the words that we use to recognize. But Tara, welcome in all of your fullness, in all of the things named and unnamed. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here.
Yeah. So, where do you want to start? I kind of want to start with quantum field work and talk a little bit more about that and what you do and how you learned about that, and like what's important. And then, I'm just giving listeners the heads up that Tara and I are just going to give ourselves full permission to go wherever this conversation wants to go, as deep and wide and, far out there as wants to happen. We're just going to follow the energy.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
quantum fieldwork is actually the same healing that Mary Magdalene offered to Jesus to prep his
Mm-hmm.
field. So it's, removing alien implants, black magic, restoring the light body to its original divine blueprint of creation. So we are calling back our soul pieces. We are removing ourselves from places that we've been fragmented, tortured. A lot of very powerful people who were part of the Christos Sophia bloodlines, Mary Magdalene, Isis, King Arthur, these beautiful disciples of Christ, these powerful beings have been desecrated because of their power, because of these antichrist
Right.
spirits and beings and, Dracos, reptilians, all the, things that we
Mm-hmm.
know about with the beings that we're up against on this planet. And these are very ancient beings. And even to this day, we are still reclaiming parts of ourselves. We are restoring our consciousness. We are, we're getting back what is rightfully ours, our birthright, our inheritance. And so there's so much to unpack here. There's so many different layers of the multidimensional field. And it's very expansive when you start really recognizing your true power, who you really are beyond what we've been programmed as children in the society today.
Yeah.
So,
So much bigger than we know.
yeah. And I'm even coming to understand, my healing journeys. I got in a car accident when I was 19. I was a passenger and I caught a glimpse of like my soul mission. I was early on, I was very much heavy in the new age, but that was part of my soul contract, was to polarity integrate. the artificial light into true source light, and into understanding the mechanics of the false ascension matrix, and why we've had to interface with these beings, why we've had to, go through these metatronic reversals and things in that nature, so that we can really bring in the true source light, and we can, clear these AI systems out of our light body, and, bring in the true organic light of source.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that remembering, you just summed that up so succinctly. I love it. Like, so you had this near death experience, you had this glimpse of like what your soul was really about. And then, we gravitate, like, as women waking up to the truth of who we are. I think what's most prevalent out there is like a new age spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And I always kind of update this podcast. I'm like, hey guys, I've been doing this for many years. And in like the early years, I interviewed a lot of people who were in that false light matrix, like,
Mm-hmm.
and, and then learned more and more and more and more. And it was like, oh, this just doesn't stand in energetic integrity.
Mm-hmm.
This is not in the energetic of source itself. So, so I don't have like many of those conversations anymore on this podcast, because what we're talking about, I know that like you and I feel that it's so important that women, that everyone does understand that, like, this is what is going on. And yeah, you were naming these like powerful beings through history, and I'm like, we are, we.
Yes.
And then the women listening, it's like, there is this level of sacredness and power unto God, unto source. If you're kind of having this inclination, like, oh, I love the Magdalens, I love Mary Magdalene, like, we're all being called forward, but it's like, sister, there's more. There's more. Like, that rose is activated with the light of source, the like Christic light of God. And yeah, there's more to remember than just like this idea. And it really does have so much to do with these like quantum mechanics and these energetic, like the architecture of the light body, as you were saying.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack here too, because I mean, you look at it goes beyond just our ancestral lineage. Like, I work within a 3 blueprint system, so it's the human, the angelic, and the galactic. So just beyond our ancestral mitochondrial record, we have like our past lifetimes. I'm thinking about all of the lifetimes that I've trained with King Arthur and Jesus, and all of the oracles of Babylon, and that lifetime, and there's just so much that we have, even like the Orion Wars, and the Lyran timelines. I mean, even when you start getting up to your avatar consciousness, you're going to come up to those timelines. You're going to have to really clear old belief systems of feeling betrayed by God, or what have you. There's just a lot that we can do when we work on the quantum timeline repair level.
Yeah. And those references are like throughout the galactic history. There was a time where we knew pure union, like pure love on earth, pure love throughout, who knows, the galaxy, I don't know. And then there were these wars, these spiritual wars, timeline wars, that specifically caused these traumas of separation, that did various things on purpose to disrupt that soul connection to source, to disrupt our clarity and our remembering, like all of these frequency fences, all of this breakage in that quantum architecture, to have us forget, to have us be so much more focused on trauma than the truth.
Mm-hmm.
to like be living in this like amnesia of suffering, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's, as I say that, I'm like, yeah, I was suffering this morning. Like I'm not
Yeah.
like shaming any one of us for, for suffering and for being in this, but this is the remembering going hand in hand with the resurrection of the light
Mm-hmm.
body, with the recalibration of ourselves, with source, like, these powerhouses. And I'll just speak this because it's coming in, is like, that's also frightening, like to stand in that power, right? Is like, um, I recognize within myself that for all I have stood in, there's so much more for me to go. And there are places that I've been avoiding. And I'm very conscious of that even now,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, oh, I've been afraid to be powerful.
Mm.
I've been,
Yes.
in some ways afraid. I spent a long time, I know you want to talk about this, like I spent a long time being afraid of the negative that I might attract.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, like, diminishing myself even on the path of sacred remembering,
Mm-hmm.
because I had woken up to realizing that there had been SRA, satanic ritual
Mm-hmm.
abuse, in my family lineage. And these like various sorts of, they felt like attacks, like before I even realized what was going on. And that interference
Mm-hmm.
was happening and really affecting my 3D world. And like my 3D world as a mother, and my resources. I talk about this all the time, but it's like that was my journey of waking up to the forces that we're actually dealing with, and how to, actually equip myself, and how we equip ourselves, to walk as who we are, in the truth of who we are, even though there are these other forces that are still like the remnants of these timeline
Mm-hmm.
wars, this interference, this other source, this other force, is still very much anti-life and is here on the planet. And this is a very exciting time, because as we are remembering and embodying the truth of who we are in the original template of who we are, it will kick out those frequencies more and more as we resurrect the grids within us and the grids within the earth. But now I'm going to stop talking and pass it back to you.
No, yeah, and I love that you touch on that because it does. It can bring up a lot of ancient fear, like the places where we were burned at the stake, or we were killed for our power. We have all these like archonic programmings that we need to unravel within our consciousness. That and this is and I'm getting chills that you mentioned. This is like I've been really finding all the lifetimes in my life that I felt unsafe to be in my power. And I'm going through and I'm just reprogramming my nervous system that it is safe to be powerful. And I am bigger than any sort of persecution field that wants to come in and try to steal, hawk, manipulate, harvest, siphon, cause, all sorts of issues. And it's a big deal to expand in that way and become bigger, because it's felt safe and normal to be quiet and silent, but then you're also feeling this part of your feminine essence like, no, this
Yeah.
is my right to stand firm and protect the innocents and say no more to the tyranny, because there is so much injustice happening on this planet, and it feels like it's really fucking ramping up right now. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard to watch. It's devastating because we want people so desperately to wake up and see that we are stewards of this planet and we have a responsibility, and we can all collectively stop this when we say no more and we say, this is wrong. This is wrong. And yeah, this whole thing around safety and feeling safe to be powerful, it's a really big job because it's like going back through every single timeline that you have been desecrated from, your innocence has been taken from. It's like we as women, as oracles and priestesses and healers and you know, witches and magi's for the men, and priests, you know, the moment we start really starting to reclaim our power, it's like there's so much interference that wants to come in and convince us that we're not allowed to have this power. We don't, you know, how dare we, right? How dare we? Well, yes, we dare. We dare to say no more. We stand strongly in our power, and it's like we have to face everything that made us forget who we really are on a soul level. And the fact that we kind of touched on the SRA today, I mean, the fact that that's coming in the fields right now is, I, the fact that we're in a timeline now to where humanity is waking up to I mean, with all the technology, it's like this information is being spread worldwide. Like we can't ignore it. We can't pretend that it doesn't exist. We cannot pretend that what's happening in Gaza, for instance, is non-existent. I mean, it's so intense. But when we ourselves on an individual level start visualizing the change that we want to see in the world and we start doing our inner work, we're starting to create ripple effects in the collective. We're starting to create bridges. We're arcing the light into the grids. We are freeing the souls that are trapped underneath the ground, you know, and it's just, when you say it's a powerful time, it is, I just, it's so profound what we're moving through, but it's also quite challenging, you know, because
it's extremely challenging. Yeah. In it.
yeah, because like as much as like we want to be seen in our power, we're also human and we also go through great challenges, and it's almost like hard to talk about because of the level of sci-fi movie that it gets. It's like we don't live regular lives, like not to like, you know, put humans down, but there's a lot of humans that just have not taken on the level of soul contracts that a lot of us people, you know, a lot of us healers and visionaries, you know, signed up for to heal and clear.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, we're just like bringing up more and more. I can feel it. It's
Mm-hmm.
these topics are like unearth me, unearth me. Like, do you
Mm-hmm.
feel that in
I
the field as
do.
we're talking?
I do. And there needs to be light shining on these things because it can't live in the shadows anymore. We have to be honest with where we are on a soul level, with where we are on a collective level, with where we are with what's needed. We need better education. We need better systems. We need people to recognize that these old systems are not working anymore. We need to stop believing that these old systems are going to help us. They're not. We need to rebuild. We need to start over new. We need to come together. We need to congregate. We need each other, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much. We need each other, and specifically on this path. And I love that you're talking about this today because, oh my gosh, I could actually cry as I hear this like come up because this morning I was like in the gym on the treadmill, and there's so much going on with my son and this. I would call it like a timeline repair from my daughter's birth, and I didn't get to raise that child, so it's
Mhm.
like this like pain point that I've carried about my children and will we be okay and will we be resourced, right? It's like come back around right now to to heal, to be felt and to heal, and it's very intense. And in looking, so what's going on right now, I won't go into story, but I will say that I have just become so comfortable saying I need support right now. Like
Yeah.
I do. And that came from a very long time of walking this path, walking the sacred remembering path, being a quote unquote leader, right? Like in my own, like in this spaces that I've created, right? Sacred remembering podcast, sacred remembering community, the groups that I held. It was like I was the leader, and I have that leader like template. It's like, yeah,
Mm.
I am comfortable in that space. But when you are that person and you're trying to hold things together, and I was also a single mother like throughout this time, with a growing teenager, right? So like his life is getting different. I'll just say different, a little more intense, also. And I wasn't asking for support while I was unearthing these truths about SRA and my family
Mm.
lineage, dealing with interference that like made me houseless twice. Like really big shit,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
really big interference. And what I knew to do from whatever old templates was like, just keep going and being strong and not really asking for support, and like, just like fucking keep going and we'll get out of this one day. And that is actually the wrong template. Like,
Mm.
I mean, you do keep going, but it's the support and the belonging
Mm.
that I needed. Like the body of my human needed that,
Mm-hmm.
like I needed to be in community with people. I needed to be in spaces where it was just like okay to not be okay, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I was writing about that while I was on the treadmill this morning, and then even now. So I don't know where I was going with that, but take it away.
Honestly, I love that you brought that up because that is so needed in the feminine collective because I think our ancestors going through war and famine fields, there is this level of like unworthiness around receiving. And so when we kind of overcome I want to say like guilt around receiving or not deserving or whatever old belief system
Yeah.
programming around that,
And
we
it's
don't
also the
act.
enslavement of the feminine too, right?
Yes.
It's like this program
Oh,
split between masculine and feminine, that like the feminine had to
yes.
acquiesce in order to receive.
Yeah, because there's almost like our we've had to take on the masculine archetype as women to hold ourselves up. But
Yeah.
when we realize that our feminine is just as important, it's like the bridge that marries that beautiful, like
Mm,
sacred marriage that allows our feminine to be held by our inner masculine, but also to be held by by others
yeah.
and learning that it's safe to receive help and love and nourishment from others. And
Yeah.
there's a lot to say around that because I don't know about you, but for me, I think because of, just who I am and everything I've gone through with targeting, it's a vibe getting close to people. But when
Mm-hmm.
you meet the right people, when you get in tune with your boundaries, when you learn to say
Right.
no, and you actually start attracting the right people that are not here to harvest or siphon or take from you, you actually
Right.
start attracting the right people
Right.
that are here to love you and remind you of your power and
Yeah.
to say it's okay, I'm here with you in this mess and I'm going to hold your hand.
Yeah. Right. And like not blending. I think when there's so many different words for this in psychology and all that, I won't go down those roads, but
Sure.
like when we just don't know about sovereignty, I would say,
Hmm.
we, even in the feminine masculine space, it's like there's so much blending, there's so much of this like you complete me energy that
Oh.
is not the vibe.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if we're sovereign unto source, but honestly, the person next to you doesn't need to exactly understand it the same way. But here's what I do find, and I'm like witnessing, and I'm always super interested and geeking out about exchanges.
Mm-hmm.
Like the frequency of exchanges and exchange contracts and reciprocity will like tell you everything, right? So if you are in a place where you're like, and this is me right now, I'm like, I am integrated, I am human. Right now, there is a thing that I need support with, and I'm like asking in the world, does anyone want to support, right? Like I made a GoFundMe. Does anyone want to support this cause? And this is really fascinating, right? So I will get kind of like, if I go into shadow or like my fear spaces or things like that, it's like, well, does anyone want to help, right? Like who's going to help? Nobody wants to help, like this and that. The very young mother in me has that's like, hopefully coming up to heal, right? Like remnants, I have remnants of that, I'll say. Then there's noticing how others respond to someone being comfortable saying, I'm a human and I need. I'm a woman, I'm a mother, and I need, right? Nature answers need. Nature has no problem answering need. Source has no problem answering need. It's like, that's its job. Like mama bird puts the worm in the baby bird's mouth, nature answers need. That's what happens, right? We have all of these, what would you call them? Like the things that trip us up, right? In the architecture of the collective that says like, well, you need to do this in order to receive, or you need to be this kind of woman in order to receive. And it's not okay to ask for this or that, but it is okay to, and here's how you're supposed to dress if you want a man to give things to you. I mean, it's like so fucked up, the layers and the layers and the layers, right? So there's a generosity of spirit in people who want, who like in how people respond to need. That's how you know if someone has been hijacked or not. Like that's what I'm saying, truthfully, is like this generosity. Like yesterday, you saw the Facebook post about my GoFundMe and you were like, I have this thing that I can offer you. Generosity of spirit, right? Like it's like this loving, this love-based thing. So, and money is so tied up with this, but like I think when we get into anything having to do with contortion about like resources and giving and receiving, we know that we're dealing with this infiltration. And we're all working this out. Like we are all working this out because our resources were heavily, heavily targeted. Like our safety as women was heavily targeted. The whole design after the fall of Lyra was like, and feminine and masculine are going to forget that they were supposed to be in union and one is going to have more power than the other. I mean, this total hijack of consciousness, right? That we are, we have to wake up to the fact that we're in that until we're not.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it's a dismantling of like gender splitting technology and the ways that, I mean, you look at transhumanism, you look at the ways that, I mean, not to disrespect transvestites, you know, I have a family member that's, you know, but that alone is targeting on the innocence of God's creation. And so we have to heal all these, you know, black magic spells, our relationship with scarcity and lack. And so that consciousness alone, when you start understanding that by design was totally manufactured, the ways that I started identifying with it, even though it can feel true and real with the wounded aspect of my human, I'm able to kind of go outside of it and say, okay, this is what God sent me on earth to do, is come into the genome and correct that, lift it out of the mitochondrial record and restore it back to its original and divine blueprint, no matter how the external might look. I mean, we get so tripped up on the current circumstances because it's because our human doesn't have what it wants and needs, but we are actually always provided for. I can't think of one time that I wasn't provided for, and unfortunately, the children in Gaza don't have that same luxury right now. There are parts, not to discredit the actual reality of the suffering that does live on this planet. For many of us who are very privileged to have, access to healing and resources, we can really start picking apart this sort of scarcity consciousness and neutralize it and see it for what it is, see how it serves, its purpose. It's even to think that, an autoimmune disorder or a drug addiction for that matter can serve a purpose for someone when they overcome it. It's like they are switching sorry, I know there's someone cutting grass. I don't know if you can hear that, but
You can hear it a little bit, yeah.
how convenient. The timing is
A
impeccable.
weed whacker.
I know. There's always like trying to do my work. There's always someone cutting their grass. I'm like, hello. But
Okay. It's
okay. Okay, I know it's not convenient. So yeah, we are here to transform this scarcity when we can catch it instead of like getting super trapped in these fallen realms, which is so easy to do because the scarcity feels real. It is one of the most parasitic dark system. I don't know what to call it, but it's a very sophisticated, strategic consciousness that has been targeted and implanted through ancient timelines that we are here to transmute and evolve that and clear out that sort of energy so that underneath all of that is our gifts, is our soul pieces, is the things that we are here to utilize.
Yeah. And this one, the scarcity one, like I just want to be totally honest that one, and like the enslavement of feminine resources, the enslavement of the feminine, like the matter particles, right? Like this goes very, very deep. This is part of my soul's contract, like on earth. This is, has been to live this so deeply. And I could just feel even like the historic, like hooking into these false grids, hooking into these like SRA, timelines and these kinds of things that just like had such a fucking stronghold on, resources, on my resources, lineage, but I'm not the only one by any means. And I want to kind of try to speak a little technically, because when we say these kinds of things, it can sound very new age, and new age is not going to heal people's like scarcity and lack, really, because it really has to be about resurrecting source. Like that is my truth about that anyway. Is like when we are hooked right in the scarcity, we are outside, I'll just say we are outside of the direct source connection. So in that moment that it is happening, we can remember, oh, this is some kind of trick. And where is the source connection right now? And then that's like how we fill up and how we get like bigger.
We trace the parts of ourselves, like for instance, like it could even be a template. Like a lot of blueprints we've inherited from our ancestral bloodline. It could be like scarcity, template, or some sort of thing that's overlaying the truth of who we are on a genetic level. And so we have to, or even some sort of entity will try to sabotage our rise by whispering lies, because a lot of healer,
that's an old ancestor that's whispering lies.
yeah, and that's a whole vibe. I mean, you have the hungry ghosts in the astral, you have your ancestral, I mean, God bless them, they don't know anything outside of what they've lived and experienced. So, and it's not to, shame them or make them bad or wrong. They just don't know any better. So, it's our job to be able to differentiate the voice of God within us and the voice of an entity, or, as you said, an ancestor, or a demon, or, what have you, an archon. An archon even will come in and try to just sow seeds of doubt. And that energy of doubt is so pervasive. It's like it kills faith. It just dissolves anything that could breathe life into this world. And so it's just a matter of being able to perceive it and being able to finally choose different, and rewiring our nervous system to not operate from the same looping sort of trauma drama fields that we're so used to. Because it's almost like a lot of people, I myself am a recovering addiction to chaos, addiction to suffering. I had a lot of belief systems that I deserved to suffer that were actually anciently projectile vomited onto me by the Dark Father. He convinced me that I deserve to suffer. And when I got that poison out of my system, I started remembering, oh yeah, I actually don't have to suffer. I don't deserve to suffer.
Right. So. I kind of want to tell this story. I always do this on this podcast. I'm like, oh, here's what's going on with me. So I'm going to tell because obviously it's the same day that we're having this conversation. So it's like in the field. But we were also talking before we hit record about like soul retrievals and timeline repairs. So I kind of have a real life story right now of how my soul is working some retrieval around these topics that we're talking about. So again, like the womb, my children, and resources was like very, very heavily targeted for me. And remembering that like I can receive in a good way, I can create in a good way, I can collaborate in a good way. Like all of those things are becoming more and more and more true, right? As I hold more of that template. So yesterday was July 22nd, which is Mary Magdalene's feast day, which is also my first child's birthday. And that day for me, and she was born 25 years ago. That is so hard to believe. I feel so old as I say that. I mean, gloriously older, but like, holy shit, 25 years. And so every day or every year on that anniversary, I just take pause, right? I just tune in. And some years, like you never know what you're going to get, right? So this year, my son is there. It's a blow up. Like he's not even in my home. Hasn't been for 3 weeks. He's at his father's house. There's like this. There's interference for sure. There's his soul is up to things that I do respect. So I'm observing that in all of the realms. And so this year comes around for my daughter's birth anniversary. And there had been this frequency that kind of implanted when, I don't know if it was actually an implant, but like the frequency embedded in me when I had to give her away, that I was not worthy of that child because I couldn't take care of that child. Like that was the story that I was told. The money won't be there. You'll suffer and struggle forever. And, it'll just be way too hard. And they separated, they did a lot of work to separate her biological father and I. There was actually a divine trinity. I have talked about that in other podcast episodes. But so the momentum thereafter was like, got to make something of myself. Got it, And then in the past few years, I was like, wow, this fear is still there that I won't be able to take care of my children. And so my son was born 9 years after my daughter. So he's 16. And I still have had this sort of sabotage sort of thing going on where like my greatness and what I could be doing is not being met. And he and I were struggling, and like it was like feast and famine with the resources. I mean, it was still just like we were in this pattern. So he, not to go too far into the story, he disrupted the pattern in June. And when he disrupted the pattern, I didn't know what he was disrupting, but he made a physical action, and I was like, whoa, his soul is disrupting something. And it was like breaking us out of this constriction. So long story, is still long, but to conclude, on the night of my daughter's birthday, last night, I wasn't allowed to sleep. Like I couldn't go to sleep. There was something that I hadn't gotten to yet. And it was the same frequency that had been right there when I was like grieving her loss. And now I'm grieving my son not being home, like this loss of my son, right? This horrible fucking frequency of there's not the resources to take care of this thing. You can't be a mother because of money. Essentially, it was like, I could boil it down to that, right? So last night and this morning, I mean, I hardly slept, and I just went into even like how I felt as a 19-year-old, like the grief that I felt after her birth and giving her away. I cried inside of that grief. I think for the first time in 25 years. Like I was like inside of the grief that was like all of this mishmash about unworthiness and money and resources and children. And I was like, whew, like I knew that I was going in to break it apart. Like I'm going to go into this. I'm going to feel all of this. I'm going to, and then it was true. Like after I went in, it freed, and then I could I could access the source frequency and the source truth, like much more readily. Like there was this, like that thing was always chasing me every fucking day of my life, every day of my children's lives. That thing was chasing me. Like, and I don't know if I'm saying like the thing, but the frequency was in me. Right. And so anyway, that's what I'm up to right now.
Wow. Yeah.
And that retrieval and that, God, I can't wait to see what's on the other side. So.
Wow. Yeah. I feel like a lot of us are collectively grieving so much right now. And it's like our solar angelic avatars are coming into our body. And in order to do that, we have to process our trauma. We can't anchor in our soul fully into our body unless all of the grief, all of the anger and the rage, like I have experienced Kali Ma on a deeper, more profound level this past year than I ever have my whole life. And I think it's because that dark mother consciousness doesn't allow the child to feel angry. And so it suppresses that anger and says, you're not allowed to feel this. And so now that this aspect of me personally is becoming bigger, not shrinking, not collapsing, not allowing whatever whisper voice or person to tell me who I'm not. um I am allowing myself to feel the depths of everything,
Right.
everything ancient, every,
Without escape.
yeah, without escape. Like, I will tell you, like, my relationship with addiction and substances has cleared
Mm-hmm.
like completely this past year. Like, God was
So
like, you
exciting.
actually cannot
You
drink
can't do
out.
it.
You there's
No,
just there's or you could suffer in the hell realms and the phantom matrix and loop
because
in
that's what it
that.
is. Like an
It
addiction
is. It is.
is that consumptive frequency of the
It is.
false
Yes.
source
Yes.
playing on you, and you're just fucking fighting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
It's, I call it consume or be consumed. You're like
Yes.
running from being consumed by this thing you don't
Yes.
even know to name. And so you're
Yeah.
consuming something else, and that becomes an addiction.
Yeah, and I finally understood, because like addiction is actually a template that is inherited from our either our father or mother. I got blessed with both sides of the lineage.
Interesting. Okay.
And so the blueprint itself is usually typically lodged into like a false belief system. And so for however many years, I have believed that I was not enough. And so as soon as I was ready to collapse that belief, I stopped looking externally for food,
Right.
for substances, for you know, just training with other people and like consuming information, you know,
Right.
trying to fill this void instead of just stop, look within, what's going on here? Okay, what is it in me that is still feeding this consumptive modeling
Mm-hmm.
that is completely blindsided to the fact that I am actually in a lot of pain, and this pain is
Okay.
being asked to be felt. It's being asked to have presence. It's being asked to be my own mother, be my own father, be that level of the Holy Mother, Holy Father principle, and anchoring that consciousness into my body, you know, and allowing that to unravel all of the density that comes with having an addiction. Because when you overcome an addiction, you actually you're like trading a blueprint with source that is so high level that can really help other people get out of those fields of addiction themselves.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, I have struggled with a caffeine addiction, and that was directly tied to how I started running to be good, to be
Mhm.
successful, to try to
Yeah.
make a living after losing my daughter. It was like,
Um,
I gotta like figure it out. I gotta be
yes.
strong and smart and good and successful. I mean, I have like 2 freaking master's degrees. Like,
Wow.
I just kept going,
Yeah.
you know? And so, yeah, that I talk a lot about that productivity virus with women
Hmm.
too. Like when we're in
Hmm.
productivity instead of creativity,
Hmm.
that's another big
Hmm.
indicator that yeah, our creative
Hmm.
mechanisms may be hijacked
Yeah,
in the market for something else.
that can also be tied into like the new age too, like the hamster wheel of like trying to always fill that
Right,
void of, or even looking
right,
for the like this can also be tied to worthiness too. Like when I relate to this, I think about all the times that, oh, I would stay busy or like work myself to complete exhaustion so that
right.
I can feel a sense of power and purpose. And when you actually you look at your feminine and you see how exhausted she is, and you
Yeah,
stop operating from those systems and you say, do a little less and see how much more you'll actually get back. You know, see
right,
where your belief systems are, because like
right.
our belief systems are so, they like structure our reality. And when we believe a false belief, that is going to put us on a false ascension timeline that is going to keep us looping in this almost like obligation frequency that is actually like harvesting us.
Right.
And so when we learn our value and our worth, we actually start being able to consolidate our energy, and we give ourselves permission to rest more, and we start seeing the fruits of our labor. We start seeing, wow, God does provide when we actually give ourselves permission to let go of these outdated ways of embodiment that are no longer serving us.
Yeah, yeah. I so I feel like I've talked around it, so I'll just name it. So I
Yeah.
am trying to raise these funds within the next 2 days to respond to a court order that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't expect. Right. So
Yes.
it was like I was trying to give my son space. Now I have to go through this process. Right. And it's okay. It's what has to happen. But I went into utilizing my energy because it was like, oh fuck, I need $8,000 to $10,000 by the end of the week, like in my account. It's like, whoa. And so I went into making it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And um, it was like, people were offering to support. And I was like, okay, but I'm also going to just make this GoFundMe. And I was like sending it out everywhere. And like, it did generate some, generosity, like I was saying. And this morning, and then I couldn't sleep. I was like
Mm-hmm.
so worked up, and I was like, I see and recognize what I'm doing, but I'm anxious. I'm going to lose my kid. Like I lost my first kid, that was fueling this. And today it's like, it's going to be so much more simple. Like $8,000 by Friday can be really easy. And
Yes.
I want to talk about the dollars actually. I want to, because it's not, this is so hijacked. I just think money itself is so hijacked. Like nature didn't make money. Like
Mm-hmm.
people made money, and probably hijacked people made money,
Mm-hmm.
created money, and saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's this set of rules around money that is not the template of nature. And I think people try to, again, in the new age, especially, like try to apply these creations rules to money,
Mm-hmm.
and money doesn't necessarily follow those rules, I find.
Mm-hmm.
But what can happen is if I follow my template of source creation, then need can be answered. Right. So it's like in training to the money and in training to get money, this has been, I think it's one of the biggest hijacks. It rules. Like we don't work for money, we work for source.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So there's so many tendrils of hijacks. I can feel that in the grids, like
Mm-hmm.
big time as I say that.
Mm-hmm.
That there's all of this hooking in to this false matrix
Mm-hmm.
because it's like money was the substitute for God's source
Mm-hmm.
in this in the way that it was inserted into that into the collective consciousness. So it's like money's a I don't even like to start a sentence with money is, right? Because people have so many ways that they
Stigmas.
just
Yeah.
like, yeah. And so I'll say one of the ways that I relate to it is that it's a tool, and it can be a tool for thriving life,
Mm-hmm.
or it can be a tool for anti-life.
Mm-hmm.
And who is utilizing it will largely determine which way it flows, right? So generosity again, like if we're in love and source and generosity,
Mm-hmm.
that money is going to
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, the relationship is going to be a
Mm-hmm.
whole different frequency. And I just feel to name one more thing, that like the most generous person right now financially for like with my son is actually my daughter's biological father.
Wow.
I know, he's
Wow.
amazing, and we've walked a long road with this, right? But yesterday I didn't just want to receive. Like that's when I started working. Like he was like I can, I can provide this. I can provide it on this timeline. And I was like, well, I'll get to work. I'm also, generating. And today, after I like went through all of that, today what I recognize we're doing is that we're both providing and we're both meeting, and it's for the best interest of thriving life. Like, Tara, I feel like holy shit, 25 years, like we came around, or like my soul's been working on that for a long time. It was this like, it's creation in collaboration. And isn't that what we want with feminine and masculine? That is creation.
Yes, when we can put aside our past like pathologies or issues, and we actually can open up to receive as women, it's like we're basically saying like our chalice is open. Like we can receive this source light. We can allow ourselves to be gracefully received by the masculine. And it almost feels like when you describe that, it almost feels like there's like a mirroring effect that you're also creating in the collective that gives other people permission to also create from that place. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. And this has been one of the biggest, as we're talking about the grids and the hijacks of the grids and the SRA, we're talking about the hijacked space of primordial creation.
Yeah, and exactly, and this is why these beings are so sophisticated, is because they know what they're doing when they harm the innocents. They're harming God.
Yeah.
They are harming, our ability to receive, and it's just the programming around it too. It's just, but when we can overcome those fields in our own way with what we do have with our resources, that is going, I think that's like the key code to the new earth, is allowing people to recognize that other people are doing this as well, and that we can slowly have dominion over this darkness, and we could say no more, and we could, look at these not just you and me, but like people that have a hard time looking at the reality of what we're living on in this planet. You and your ex-partner opening up in this way is just allowing all of the like ego, programming or conditions around whatever it is, and just letting that fall to the wayside, and just focusing and prioritizing what is important.
The child.
The
The
divine
children.
child. Yes, that
Yes.
Holy Trinity. I got chills because I've been seeing so many 333s.
Wow.
And the Holy Trinity is that divine child, and he or she is always right. He or she is always right. The divine child knows better than we do.
Yeah. I've been tracking, like, he and I have this ancient soul relationship, and I've been tracking our walk back to the Trinity for probably 3 to 5 years now.
Wow.
So, there's a lot more that I'm like, wow, but I won't go into more story and share right now. It's very like very present moment, very fresh. And what I am called to go back to, that we just kind of like mentioned, was, the sovereignty of the feminine in the grids, right? And I talk a lot about this. This is like the regenerative feminine energy work that I do. This is the heartland. Like, this is this codex of how do we get the feminine sovereign and prosperous, right? Like, that's what I've been walking with my life. And that's the book that I don't, I'm like, was that on the computer that fried last Saturday? Or like, but maybe there's a new timeline version. So anyway, deepening down into the earth and the primordial soils and matter of the earth as part of feminine reclamation, as grid reclamation, as this sovereignty reclamation, you know. And we don't have to go deep into this. I've talked about this on many occasions, but the severance historically of like matter, mother from, you know, light, like the body from the head, the mental realms from the bodily realms. And we've been taught, you know, again, New Age, just making that distinction that you know, it's all about love and light. It's all about, I love that like you're wearing dark and I'm wearing light, by the way. It's like, yes, polarity integrators, we are.
Yeah.
And we're taught to like always seek the light. And yes, love, yes, light, yes, positive electrification, or like healthy electrification is what I mean. And then there's this deepening into the healthy dark, the healthy primordial earth space, and reclaiming that. And those are the areas that we need to reclaim from these false grid networks, from these like siphoning networks. And I said this in a recent conversation with Emmy Mutale, who does the Sacred Feminine Power podcast. But we were talking about this, and it's like creation wants to give us so many more codes about what creation is capable of. But we're not going to get it until we're in the source template.
Yeah, my mentor told me that too recently. She was like, source isn't gonna until you know, you have to work your way up to it. You have to earn it. You have to keep dismantling these sort of false beliefs and retrieve that, you know, it's a process.
Very much a process. And like, I personally am like, it's so motivating today to be like, keep your eye on the prize. Like, yeah, shit's hard. And when we stop reacting, when we stop like losing ourselves to the consumptive, you know, mechanisms, we get more of these realizations, sacred rememberings, and codes.
Yep, because it's like dismantling the false self. That's really what sovereignty is just like letting go of all the aspects of the false self that believes it needs A, B, and C, when you could just be connected to God's truth and the stream of God.
Yeah. Let source light you up. Well, it feels like we're kind of wrapping up. Is there anything that you know to say that hasn't been said?
Yeah, I mean, my best recommendation really is for everyone out there to just please continue to have faith in the human heart and humanity, that we can do this together, and that we can end the suffering, and that it is possible, and that Gaza needs our prayers right now, and we just keep doing as much as we can to you know, make peace with the darkness on this planet and authentically neutralize, not in a false light way of, but to authentically process what we need, allow ourselves to feel everything to its depth, and to just continue to visualize the change that you want to see in the world. Like I keep getting this, like every single morning when I wake up and my brain is in theta wave. When your brain is in theta wave, that's like the most beautiful epic time to create a quantum jump. And so when you can, beyond like outside our human desires and needs, which are beautiful and innocent and totally pure, we can also incorporate the collective and all those that are suffering. We can pray for those people. We can, you know, pull our frequency up and just continue to hold the vision of what we want to see change in this world. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, totally. That's my favorite time of day and morning as well. Like when I first open my eyes, like I don't move. And, or like when I first wake up, because sometimes I don't even open my eyes because my cats are going to be like, she's up. Come on. And I'm like, no, I'm not up. I'm not awake. But I just feel into like what has changed, what is true today. And yeah, such a beautiful state. Thank you for the heartwarming collective reminder. I'm gonna pray for peace more for the collective. Thank you. Yeah, still healing those parts of myself. I think we all need to do it all
Yeah.
alone. So tell us before we go, like, what do you have going on? What are you?
Well, right.
You?
Oh, solarphoenix.net. So it's solar-phoenix.net. Right now I'm currently downloading my own healing modality that's connected to the Essenes consciousness and working with the solar angelic consciousness. It's really all about revitalizing the essence in our body. So because our bodies are made of spirits, sometimes they get a little corroded or they have, what have you on them. And so I'm really focusing on working a lot with the physical body right now, and doing a lot of deep emotional clearing, deep emotional, like unraveling the original false belief system in the psyche and just rewiring that and just seeing a lot of miracles that are coming from that. So letting go, I have about the rest of the week that I am offering the 2 healing modalities that have been a major stepping stone in my life, but I'm just feeling called to really focus on my specific soul blueprint and what God anointed me to work with solely, specifically with Source. So that I'm still really birthing and anchoring and really understanding what each light frequency does in the fields. So, but yeah, it's really extraordinary to see. But yeah, really working on focusing on the womb for men, hara. So a lot of clearing, sexual distortions and womb health. And I am a key code initiator for the Rose lineage of Mary Magdalene. So I did train in mystery schools with Mary Magdalene in many lifetimes. So I do have jurisdiction to activate different rose templates. So if anyone feels called to learn how to work with the different roses, I would be honored to connect with you. But yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. So
thank you. And I just want to say, like, I mean, on this path of sacred remembering, we all have, I mean, obviously we all have our own path, right? And then, but what you just described is so much more potent and so much more advanced than, like, in the beginning we like take Reiki trainings or we like study other people's modalities. Like, you're downloading something from your own soul template. And so yeah, I'm stating the obvious, but it's an important obvious. It's like, and I don't think, like, that is the permission in and of itself. Like when we're talking about stepping into your power and stepping into like really owning it, like that's next level.
Yeah, because we actually all of us, each and every beautiful human, we all have our own healing modalities. We all have our own Hyros Gamos manuals that were given to us from Source. But we need to heal our trauma. We need to let go of these other modalities that are just taking up room in our blueprint. So that we can, start under, but it also takes a lot of stillness. Like we have to sit and be still, and we can't just, we get swayed away by distractions and like it takes a lot of time and devotion. So
Yeah, I'm feeling that same thing. I have been for a while, but I've just been navigating like different things and maybe some resistance. But Heartland has been here for a while. The regenerative feminine, like taking women into that. The Magenta Rose Collective is really showing up 2025, and they are back like full force. Even since this last weekend, I've got magenta flowers all over my altar, and lots of deep codes about creativity, and yeah, even like this podcast, like things that I've done for a long time. I love conversations like this, obviously, but I get so many requests for conversations that are not a yes. Like I only invite people really on here that I want to talk to. But like being a podcast host is not necessarily my purpose. It's like part of it to get these conversations going, right? To spread, I feel like the rose expanding as I say that, like it is for us to be broadening this consciousness. And I think that there is like a more advanced structure for things. So I'm working on that right now. Like, how do I be far more in my medicine, but not lose this collective piece and this the importance of women sharing stories together. So yeah, it's a question that I'm also sitting very quiet and still with.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for sharing everything and sharing what you're doing. And solarphoenix.com, Tara on Facebook, and Solar Phoenix on Instagram, right?
Solar Phoenix 444 on Instagram. So the four is that angelic frequency is very, very much part of who I am and what I'm here to embody. So
thank you for being here and embodying it.
thank you so much for having me here and listening. And thank you guys all so much for tuning in with us today.
Yeah, come back anytime.
Thank you.